Hi, welcome back to evidence classes. In the last discussions, we were actually dealing with section 32 clause 1 that mainly deals with dying declaration of a person. Under section 32, we mainly have to understand that it is a statement made by that person who has made the statement either orally or in writing or in any other form which can be communicated from one person to another person. After making such statement, either that person is died or he is not available before the court of law to come as a witness, or else his attendance before the court cannot be secured without spending huge amount of money or a considerable amount of delay, which in the eyes of the court or in the opinion of the court, it's actually not reasonable. That's why in the absence of such persons, the court can uh, accept the evidence in the form of hearsay witnesses. Some other person can depose on behalf of the person who has made the statement. Such being the case, as after finishing section 32 clause 1, we are going to next clause of the section 32, that is section 32 clause 2. It deals with a statement made in the course of business. In the ordinary course of business, if any statement made by a person who is maintaining the business, that statement will become related or it will become relevant evidence in future, whether after his death or if he is not available to come and tell before the court. Such statement, it should be what kind of a statement it should be, that we are going to discuss here. It should be made in the ordinary course of business and it should consist entries with regard to business, that is ordinary business, what he is doing, routine practice of his business should be there in the entry, or else it may be a memorandum which is signed or written by the person who has made the statement, or in case of any letter, if the date is written on that letter, or any memorandum, any kind of communication in which date is written, that in order to resolve the question with regard to the particular date on which the statement was made, whatever date is written in that memorandum, letter, or the entry of the business books of accounts, all such statements will become relevant if he is not available before the court of law to come as a witness. This is what is section 32 clause 2. It says that any statement made by a person in the ordinary course of his business, after making such statement, if he is not available and if any doubt with regard to the existence or non-existence of such fact which is there in the statement is arising before the court, in order to find out the answer whether it is existed or not existed, the statement made by such person will become relevant evidence. The next one is section 32 clause 3. It deals with against interest of maker. A statement, if it is against the interest of the maker, here the main concept of interest may be classified in two different angles. One is pecuniary interest, another one is proprietary interest, and the third one is there, that is personal interest, interest regarding the person or the body of a person or need of a person. But this section 32 clause 3 deals with two different kinds of interests. One is pecuniary interest, another one is proprietary interest. If the statement made by a person is going against his own interest, in case of either pecuniary interest or proprietary interest, such statement later against him or against any other person can be used as an evidence before the court of law. This is the gist of section 32 clause 3. If this statement, how we can understand that it is against the person, against the interest of the person or not, the formula is that if that statement is likely to take that person to face the criminal prosecution or to face any suit for damages, in these two circumstances we can make out that the statement, if it is likely to bring that person to be prosecuted against a crime or to be facing for a suit for damages, in that case that statement can be considered as against the interest of the maker. This is section 32 clause 3. Section 32 clause 4 says that if the statement it gives opinion as to public right or custom, This particular concept we have already discussed in relevant facts under section 13 of the same act, wherein in this particular 32 clause 4 it says that if there is a question with regard to existence or non-existence of any right, custom, or a matter which is of a public interest, which is of a general interest of the public, in that case several evidences can be accepted. The main evidence which we can accept for believing or not believing with regard to existence or not existence of the right or custom is that if a statement is made by any person when any controversy is not yet arised, means before arising of any controversy with regard to existence or non-existence of a right or custom, statement is made or written much prior to that controversy. After the controversy has been arised, if that statement is brought before the court of law, the person who made the statement is not available before the court of law, such person, if he is having special knowledge of that custom or right, or if that person is believed to have knowledge with regard to that right or custom, that person's statement will become relevant fact before the court of law, and that is a sufficient evidence under section 32 clause 4. Next is section 32 clause 5. 32 clause 5 says that it relates to existence of a relationship. If a question before the court, either in criminal cases or in civil cases, if it arises with regard to existence of any sort of relationship between two people. Okay, now what are the different types of relationships we are having? Mainly relationships with regard to this particular section can be classified as relationship arising out of the blood, that is father son, father daughter, daughter mother, like this, the direct blood relatives. Second one is relationship arising out of marriage. Third one is relationship arising out of adoption. If the existence of relationship between two persons is a question before the court of law, before arising of such question before the court, any statement is made by a person whose knowledge is believed to be genuine or proper to explain that whether that relationship was existed or not existed. Say for example, if the mother has left a personal diary in which she has written that the father of her son is one Mr. X, who is the big businessman in the city. The particular diary which is written by the mother, if it has explained the sufficient circumstances, how she met his father, how their relationship developed, how they got married, and why they did not disclose their marriage to the common people, and finally how they got suppressed, how they suppressed the relationship to the entire world, and finally this son who actually did not get the name of his father. All this circumstance, if it is explained in a personal diary of a lady, and that statement made by the lady is not alive, and after her death her personal diary is placed before the court of law, that is admissible evidence under section 32 clause 5 in order to establish the relationship between that Mr. X and the son of deceased lady. That may be not that much strong evidence if in counter some other evidences are placed like DNA test or something like that. Finally, as per the old act 1872, the act was written, for that reason relationship was established with regard to a statement made by a person much prior to the if question arise before the court. The next one is section 32 clause 6. It deals with if a statement is made in will or deed relating to the family affairs. Any statement of existence of any fact or happening of any event is written in a deed or any document with regards to the family affairs. If a person making the statement has written a will, or if he has maintained such a document in connection to his family affairs, and that particular document explains that so and so person is my son, so and so person is my wife, like that kind of a statements if he has made in a will, that will usually it is written form, that's why we call it as a will in a legal language. But sometimes if a person soon before his death, if he gave certain his opinions in the oral form, we can in a loose sense call it as oral will made to a trustworthy person, that this is my opinion, this is my intention, these are the truths of my life, I have not disclosed it to anybody as of now. Now since I am going to die, I am disclosing these facts. If he said something, that will also come under this particular section, the oral statement given in the form of will. But contents of the documents are more trustworthy as per section 32 clause 6, because the section 32 clause 6 only speaks about documents or will. If the document or will is having a particular knowledge which was there in the exclusive mind of the person who made such statement, and later the question arises with regard to existence of any relationship between the person who is standing before the court and the person who is no more alive, then that will or document of the family affairs will become documentary evidence to establish the statement which is made by the person who is no more alive. This actually speaks about existence of relationship only, but only we have to see the ingredients of this particular subclause 6. They says that there should be a will or a deed with regards to the family affairs. In any family pedigree, it may be a family pedigree other than the will, there something has been explained, or any tombstone or a family portrait if it is maintained, or any other thing where the family is used to write it, or family is having a custom to store the information from one generation to another generation. All such things apart from the will be covered under section 32 clause 6 to convey a statement that can be placed before the court of law as an evidence in order to establish the statement of a maker of such will or that document. This is section 32 clause 6. It is also very relevant evidence. 7 clause 7 says that as in document relating to transaction mentioned in section 13 clause A, as I was telling in the initial discussion of today, any particular statement is part of a content of any document, and that the document is in relation to a transaction, and the transaction is speaking about either creation, claiming, modification, recognition, assertion, denial of any existence or non-existence of a custom or right. Maybe it is a bit confusing. Let me make it very simple. If, say for example, any doubt before the court has arisen that whether this particular custom or right is existed or not existed, in that case, in order to resolve this question, court may ask certain document to be placed before the court which has a statement, which has some information. That information is placed before the court in the form of a document, and that document is in relation to some particular transaction, and that transaction is dealing with these following things. What are the things? Either it speaks about creation of a custom or any right, or it should speak about claim of any right or custom, or it should speak about modification of such right or custom in the family itself, or next one is like recognition. If the custom or right is recognized in one of the traditions, or in between some facts have been taken place where this custom was recognized, or else if it is asserted by somebody in the family and that has become a part of evidence in the document, or if it is denied. Finally, it is denied means such custom was there but it is denied by the family members in a transaction which is there in a document, means that custom is denied. Even this evidence can be placed either in support of the custom or opposed to the custom. That is what is section 13(2) clause 7 speaks about. The last subsection of section 32, it deals with any statement if it is made by several persons and expresses feelings or impressions on their part. If any statement is made by several persons, means number of people have made the same statement,